Hello, hello. Welcome to the Wellness on Purpose podcast, where our intention is to provide you with impactful, educational, and realistic information to help you progress on your journey to live wellness on purpose now and for future generations. This podcast shares insights to current health trends with industry and brand leaders in the health and wellness world. This podcast is brought to you by Joanne's Place Health Foods from Peterborough and Lindsay, Ontario. My name is Marissa Laughlin. I'm a holistic nutritionist and functional lab practitioner. I've been working alongside Joanne's Place for the last 8 years, and I'm so excited to continue to be your host for this podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Wellness on Purpose podcast. As you can gather from the title of this episode, we are going to be talking about fertility. Now, there's a lot of information and episodes on different podcast platforms that are really highlighting infertility. And this is because we are hearing so many more people, men, women, couples who are struggling with infertility. It's a very big conversation, and sometimes it can have a narrative that isn't so positive. Now, the purpose of today's episode is I actually want to shift that narrative, and I want to talk about fertility in more of a proactive way. And I've asked Dr. Rory Gibbons to join me on that podcast today to explore this conversation. So Dr. Rory Gibbons is a naturopathic doctor, and his clinical practice has a focus on helping patients regain energy, physical and mental performance, and improve their body composition. He also works with other patients with irritable bowel syndrome, irritable bowel disease, and he uses a combination of naturopathic care and habit coaching to instill healthy lifestyle and dietary habits so that you can get the best out of your life. Now, Dr. Rory Gibbons is also here on behalf of the brand CanPrev. Now, CanPrev is a Canadian supplement company. And at CanPrev, their mission is to keep advancing naturopathic medicine tools, working with the body's natural healing ability in order to improve quality of life. And in today's episode, we're going to see how CanPrev's mission really translates into their formulations, because they just launched 2 incredibly therapeutic formulas that have officially hit the shelves in Joanne's Place that are targeted towards fertility for both women and men. And that's so rare in the health and wellness industry to see 2 products that cohesively work together for both genders to support fertility. And I'm just really excited for Dr. Rory Gibbons to explain those formulations, why they created these formulations, who the targeted individual would be for these formulations, and how to use them. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Rory Gibbons onto the podcast today. Hello, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. We're going to talk about fertility today, and we're going to be discussing how both men and women can naturally prime their bodies for pregnancy. So before we get into all of the good details on today's episode, I just wanted to start by talking a little bit about yourself. So you're a naturopathic doctor, and you're here on behalf of the brand CanPrev. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about your journey as a naturopathic doctor and also about the brand CanPrev?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I'm a naturopathic doctor. I'm licensed in British Columbia, and I see patients all over the province through our company called Virtual Health Collective. So my wife and I, we run that clinic, and my wife sees women, I see the men, and it's awesome. We have 2 little guys at home, and it allows us really awesome flexibility to spend time with each other and with our kids. It's not always the easiest, but it is. That's what we want to do, and we love that time that we can get from being our own business owners. So like a journey to naturopathic medicine, I'll just keep it simple. I met my wife, and she brought me to it. Let's be honest. I was destined to it for a different career, and then she was like, "I want to be a naturopathic doctor." I was like, "What's that?" And so then I learned all about it and realized that I could do everything I wanted to and more. So we went through the naturopathic medical school journey in New Westminster together, and I wouldn't have done it any other way. It was hard, but it was awesome. So that's kind of how I came to naturopathic medicine, and now I feel like I am living it, and it's awesome. And so I feel good about myself. My body feels good. Like, we have 2 great kids, and we use the principles of naturopathic medicine on the daily. And I bet that a lot of people that are listening are using naturopathic principles on the daily. They don't even know it. So that's kind of how I came to be. my practice is really unique in that I see mainly men in my practice. A few females for digestive concerns, but mainly men that are looking to increase energy, looking for testosterone support. And I have a handful of guys that are trying to improve sperm quality, which we're going to talk about today, which is exciting. I really love what I'm doing right now. It's so good helping other dads and other guys that want to become dads. My unofficial shtick, I guess, is dads and digestion is who I see.
I love that. And so you are affiliated with CanPrev. How?
Mhm. Right. So CanPrev and I have a long lasting relationship. Honestly, I started working with CanPrev in 2013. I think through 13 or 14 as a student rep through my school, and I started learning about this supplement company. I love what they stand for. I love how they are not just a supplement company. They are creating education. They produce and put on webinars for public that are not just like, here are the supplements to take. Like these are educational webinars, and I know that because I've done them. I produce them myself, and we talk like a lot of education comes out of CanPrev. CanPrev has been one of the fastest growing new supplement companies in Canada, and I'm excited to be a part of it for sure. I love the other products that they have too. I use them on the daily for myself and with my patients.
Amazing. Yeah, I can also attest to how amazing CanPrev is. I use a lot of their products personally for myself. I'm also a nutritionist, so I use them in practice. And
Excellent.
CanPrev has released a lot of amazing new products, which we're going to talk about in depth a little bit later. But before we kind of get there, I want to just start the conversation around fertility and giving a heads up to some of our listeners. This might be a triggering conversation to have, but I do think that we have the ability to use this platform to provide education and start this conversation in the health and wellness space to really support men and women out there to improve fertility. So, just did a quick research before I hopped on this podcast, and they say roughly 1 in 6 people are struggling with infertility, which can come from both men and women. And unfortunately, we are seeing those stats increase. Why do you
Mhm.
think this is? Do you think this is because people are waiting to try and have children later on in life? And as we know, our fertility decreases as we age. Or do you think there are other major factors at play?
Yeah, so that's a really excellent topic to talk on, one what we could talk about forever. So the first thing we said, like 1 in 6 couples are struggling with fertility, and so I have to think about, well, where do these stats come from? And these are the stats that are coming from people that are recording that they are having struggles with fertility, right? Like we have patients and we have couples that come and see us that have been trying for years and they haven't told anyone. They're like, we should probably get this figured out or checked out. But they've pulled the goalie, for lack of better words, for like 2 or 3 years. And by pull the goalie, I mean unprotected sex.
Yes.
And for 2 or 3 years, there's some sort of barrier that they've had to not telling people. So my point is that my guess is that there's probably more, unfortunately, that are struggling with fertility issues. And so let's break it down even more. So there's female and male people that we need to keep in mind here. 30% of the time it's the male, 30% of the time it's female, 30% of the time it's both, or for other reasons. And so there's that to consider. Your other question there was, what could be causing this? Or is this like, why are we having a rise in stats, and are we having a rise in stats? I don't know what the rise actually is. However, I do see a trend of people trying to conceive later in life. And if you're listening and you're not really sure why that impacts, when you're born, female has a bunch of eggs in the ovaries. And as time goes on, the quality of those eggs starts coming down. And also, they're released every month, right? So the number goes down as well. Okay, so as time goes on, those eggs are a little bit older and there are less of them. Okay, for men, there's so many reasons why, like sperm health is going down. It's wild. Like our general population health is declining. It is not improving. It is declining, especially in North America. Like we're seeing rates of obesity go up in both Canada and the US. We always point the finger, but it is both in Canada and the US because we are eating poorly. We are more sedentary, and that has a huge effect on our hormone levels, namely testosterone and estrogen in men. And so, how is that connected to sperm health? So sperm, the number of sperm is really correlated with testosterone levels. So if your testosterone levels are low, most likely sperm levels are low too, because that's where testosterone is created, as well as sperm is in the testes. Okay. And then to one step further, like the lifestyle factors that we have, high stress, alcoholism, smoking, marijuana use, to name a few, are all affecting the quality of the sperm and the quality of the eggs in the females. So there are a few things that I just hit on there that we can expand on for minutes and minutes, but those are some things that I'm seeing on the regular that are affecting sperm quality, and what Allie, my wife, is seeing is egg quality.
I think with so many podcast episodes and just talking about this topic in general, we can very much easily get caught on this hamster wheel of don't do this, don't do that. This is affecting your quality of the egg, of the sperm. Avoid this. It can be such a negative conversation to have, and this narrative can be quite draining. So what I hope to do with this episode as well, and you're already starting to do this, is we're really going to change the narrative of how we're going to talk today in terms of just making it a positive and proactive thing to change those habits, because there's so many things that, a sedentary lifestyle, all of those things that you listed, they have such a big role on everything, not just fertility. So it's how can we just improve our quality of life, and then from there also improve our fertility. So before we get into the do's, can we talk just a little bit about what it means to be fertile? Like, is it something that we can actually define?
Yeah, so that's I love how you just what you were just saying a moment ago, making it a positive thing, because we so often are hounded with these like negative type of language. And so infertility is defined. It's easy to define it, and it's easy to label. And that's where all the research has gone, is like what makes someone infertile, and like what do you need in order to make a baby? But there's nothing that has a definition of fertile, right? There's ranges of sperm levels that we look at, but there's nothing that says you need to be here to be fertile. It just says this is normal. I don't think that the lower end of the cutoff is normal, but so far what I've understood is that there's no like line of fertile. Unless, do you have something else you want to add to that?
No, and that's why I asked it, was because it is exactly it is. We have that definition of being infertile and what that looks like in terms of, miscarriages, or not being able to have, everything of implantation and all of that. So we focus so much on that term infertile, but what we can do, as I said, to change this narrative is look at things that we can do that we know do support our fertility. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit more about today. So let's just jump into that right away.
Sure.
With starting with food specific, like nutrients, what types of foods would you recommend that will increase or support fertility?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we eat is so important on so many levels. When it comes to fertility, we're looking at colorful foods first and foremost. Some foods that are packed with antioxidants that are going to help start improving the ability to take away the free radicals in our body that are naturally occurring in our body. But when we take those away and we neutralize those things, then health of sperm improves and the health of eggs are extended, which is great. So colorful fruits and vegetables, absolutely. We want to look at getting some really healthy omega-3 fatty acids in there, right, to help the hormone production, because we do need fats in our life in order to produce hormones, because it comes from cholesterol. Okay, so we need that in our life for sure. Lean proteins, for sure. Lean protein, I say lean proteins just because there's a little bit less of the saturated fats in there. Proteins make enzymes, and proteins make sperm, like they're proteins, right? And so we need an adequate level of protein in our diet to get the benefits for fertility, but also for just general health. I find a lot of people are just not really eating enough protein, and they just don't feel very good. They're trying to cut back, and but their blood sugars start getting kind of wonky, and the blood sugar regulation is really important. The other thing was hydration, super important, just on so many levels. I often tell patients, like, make water your drink of choice. It's just an easy one. So that's as far as diet goes. As far as inclusion of foods, exclusion of foods, things like let's cut the alcohol down. There's ways we can do that's not completely cut out. Health Canada just released 2 drinks a week is your max. And so, okay, what are you going to do with those 2 drinks? Are you going to have them on a Wednesday, or are you going to save them for a Friday or a Saturday? So that's where I usually encourage patients, like, why don't we push it to the weekend, enjoy them, and then we're back on Monday without the alcohol. So that's, as far as diet goes, that's usually what I will lean towards. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you touched on protein, because it's actually interesting. A lot of clients that I see looking in terms of supporting fertility, I would say, are vegan, and we have such a challenging time hitting protein intake. And they were vegan for different reasons, and most of them during that time of trying to conceive actually decided to add in more protein coming from lean sources like chicken and turkey and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so amazing to see the shift in just their energy levels, and
Mm-hmm.
just feeling better, feeling energized, feeling healthier. And I'm not saying that vegan is a bad diet to follow per se, but for menstruating women, I just see so many deficiencies, especially with protein intake. And it's just one thing that I find personally has made a huge difference in my practice with clients who are vegan. Great for antioxidants, great for hydration. I love that. So that's fantastic. Now, what about those lifestyle habits that you were talking about very briefly earlier in the episode? We have a lot of people have a sedentary lifestyle, things like that. So what would be, your top 3 or 4 lifestyle habits that you think have a direct impact on hormone health and are supportive for fertility?
Yeah. So, okay, I love this one for sure. Top 3. Okay, top 3. I would say sleep. Sleep is a big one, people. Like, that's one of the first things I go to with all of my fertility people, but all of my patients, but a lot of my fertility people, they're stressed and they're not sleeping very well. So let's work on that. And depending on what's going on in your life, that will mean different things and different products and different nutrients that you might need in order to get a better night's sleep. The second thing I would say is physical activity, more specifically, strength training or resistance training. Okay, those things are the same, but resistance training, where you're building muscle. Okay, so when you build muscle, pretty much every marker of wellness in your life goes up. So you sleep better, your libido improves, if you're a man, your sexual function improves. Even as a woman, your libido improves. For men, like when I say sexual function, I mean erectile function specifically. So when you build muscle, those things improve as a result of more hormones being produced, namely testosterone, and your blood sugar balancing also improves. Your blood sugar metabolism improves. So you'll probably see like less crashes, kind of more energy in general. Like I said, every marker of wellness goes up. So far we have sleep, and we have resistance training. And the third one I would say is mental health support. These are 3 amongst many others, but mental health support. And so people that are struggling with chronic stress, often comes anxiety and depression, and that can feed into your relationships and your friendships, and that can affect your ability to conceive. It affects your libido and affects the frequency at which you have sex and your chances of conceiving. So I'd say mental wellness, like see a counselor or psychologist, see what you have covered. If you don't have extended benefits, there are free services out there. Depending on the province you live in, they look a little bit different, but there are people that want to help and people that want to talk to. And even if you're someone that's like, I don't need to talk to anybody, you'd be surprised at what comes up. Surprised at what comes up when you actually start a conversation with someone that is really good at active listening and reflecting. So those would be, I'd say, my top three things to do. I'd say like stress management, but I put that in mental health.
Yeah, and they all kind of coincide with each other. Like we know
Totally.
that exercising and movement has a direct impact on our mental health, but also sleep does as well. They're all work very synergistically together. So I think those are all really great things. I mean, those are three big lifestyle factors that are big changes for people to do. But aside from the topic of talking about fertility today, those have a tremendous impact on everything else in your life, all the other health markers. As you mentioned, your blood sugar, it's going to support cardiovascular health, again, supporting that mental clarity, the communication, like all of those things. So those are really great. So for our listeners, if you could just pick one of those three and start to really focus on what that looks like for you in your life and start there. We're going to take a quick pause in today's episode so I can share some incredibly exciting news with you. On behalf of Joanne's Place, I'm excited to share the launch of the Wellness on Purpose program to educate you. This is an online self-directed educational program that is focusing on key pillars of your health and wellness. These pillars include your nutrition, your stress, your sleep, and your movement. As I mentioned, this is a self-directed educational online program, and guess what? It is completely complimentary, aka it is free. We've decided to offer this program for free because we think it's really important for everybody to have access to this information and to start making changes today. So to kick off the start of our online program, we have released the first pillar focusing on your nutrition. So if you want to learn more about how to eat a balanced and sustainable way without overcomplicating and following strict dietary guidelines, this program is suited for you. So to learn more about it and to enroll now, go find the registration link in the description below and get started today. We are also, a firm believer in using supplementation for support for a few reasons, because one, these lifestyle changes, as well as say food choices, can be a little bit harder for some individuals to put into play right away. So we recommend supplementation to help support that progress on the journey a little bit faster. And there's also some people who have just more deficiencies that might require a little bit more nutritional intake through supplementation. And CanPrev has just recently formulated 2 amazing products. These formulations are like nothing you've seen before, and they're focused for fertility support with nutrients for both men and women. So I want to talk a little bit more in depth about these products and why CanPrev has formulated them to include these different nutrients. So let's start with the women's formulation.
Sure, yeah. So the women's formulation is called CanPrev Prime Fertility. It is a powdered product. It tastes really good. It's a wild berry lemonade. It's really yummy tasting. So it has some really amazing ingredients in it. But let's just talk about like what the goal here is. And so what we're doing with this product, or what we're aiming to do, is improve the ovulation phase of the cycle. Okay. And so we do that with this thing called Vitex or Chase Tree, and that is something that regulates your cycle. Let's call like a normal cycle, I'm quotation right now, is 28 days. It's gonna vary depending on who you are in your life. But if you're someone that is having a 40-day cycle and a 50-day cycle and then a 15-day cycle, we need to regulate that and make it more consistent. Okay. When you do that, then the chances of conception goes up. Okay. Because we know when egg is going to be coming down. So the Vitex is really great for that. The other goal for this product is improving the egg quality and the ovulatory function, or the release of the egg. Okay, improving that function, and we do that with and myo-inositol is a big player in that one. The third thing is providing to be mom with the nutrients that she needs in order to nourish the embryo when it happens. Okay, so those kind of like a prenatal vitamin in some ways, right? And so this product has like some really great, like really evidence-based ingredients in it, like 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate and choline and CoQ10 and arginine. Those things are so like integral in the development of an embryo and a fetus. 2 ingredients really stuck out to me on this one: the myo-inositol and the choline. And so choline, really, really important nutrient in the development of something called the neural tube in the embryo and the fetus. Okay, it's really part of the nervous system, early pieces of the nervous system. And so what I've been finding with prenatal vitamins, there is choline in them, but the level at which they're in there is kind of lower. And so this one has a great dose. It's 550 milligrams. That's a pretty solid dose based on pretty great research. And so that's one thing. And then the myo-inositol, has a lot of great information on this ingredient for blood sugar management. Okay, and so when we use inositol, it does help manage blood sugar to allow that person to have energy, to allow that person to utilize blood sugar more efficiently. In this case, myo-inositol is being used as well as to help release the egg during the ovulatory phase. So having good ingredients like that really, really help improve development of the fetus.
Amazing. So for this formula in particular, this is your primary demographic would be somebody who is trying or planning to conceive. Now,
Mm-hmm.
how early on would someone use this formulation? Like, would they,
Mm-hmm.
say 6 months planning before, a shorter time? How, if somebody was pregnant, do they stop taking it? Like, how would you take this
Mm-hmm.
product?
3 months is what is recommended to take this product to improve chances of conception. Vitex or that chase tree, I've seen it work really quickly. Like within a couple months, suddenly cycles are like 28, 29 days from 40 days. It's wild how quickly it works. And then like it's in here. There's not a lot of fertility products that have chase tree in them, so I'm really excited to see this one.
So you'll take this formulation for, say, 3 months prior to conception. Say, luckily you get pregnant. Would you stop taking this formulation?
Yes, I would say so. Congratulations on becoming pregnant, and then stop taking the prenatal, or sorry, the prime fertility, and then move to the CanPrev prenatal. It's as simple as that. They have
Perfect.
one to support you through that.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So we've covered the women. Now let's move
Yeah.
over to the men. Let's talk about what that looks like, because a lot of people, and I think this conversation is changing, but I think when we talk about infertility, we automatically assume it's a women's problem. But that
Mhm.
is not the case. And in fact, we're seeing more and more and more that men are just as equally a part of that as women. And alongside the amazing formulation for women you created one for men as well. So let's talk about this product. What are the key nutrients that you've included in this formulation and why?
Yeah, so the ingredients in the prime virility that CanPrev has formulated is wonderful. Like it's a powder. It tastes really good. I take it in the morning. It's aiming to support testosterone production. It's aiming to improve the resistance to stress, okay, in the body in general. However, what that looks like on a sperm level is improving the antioxidant ability of the body, because that affects the sperm quality. There's a lot of free radicals floating around that can affect the DNA in the sperm, and they don't work as well, and they're just not as efficient as at conception. And then we look at improving or supporting sperm motility, so the ability to move. Okay, so I love this is so good. It's such a great formulated product. So it has KSM 66 ashwagandha in it. And so this is what is supporting the testosterone production, as well as the saffron ingredient in there too. But there's some really great research on KSM 66 and its ability to increase testosterone levels and increase free testosterone levels, or ability to use that testosterone. And so that's a really great piece in this product. There's a big part of it is focusing on mitochondrial function. Okay, so mitochondria are the powerhouses of every cell in our body. Okay, and in each sperm, there's hundreds of thousands of mitochondria in them. They're that small. Okay, so we need to provide those mitochondria with the proper nutrients in order to work and produce energy. So things like carnitine, acetyl L-carnitine, CoQ10, selenium, those are kind of the three main ones, and vitamin D. Those really help mitochondrial function and allows those sperms to get energized and move forward and go towards that egg and find it. Resistance to stress. So there's an antioxidant piece here. And this is coming in the form of vitamin D and selenium and also zinc. And so there's improving like inflammation levels in the body, which will positively impact the ability of those sperms to move forward in the right direction and have everything inside them that they need in order to produce an embryo. Lastly, it has 25 milligrams of zinc in it, and that is great for sperm production as well as testosterone production in general.
Now, for recommendations for this product, would you also say this is something you only take for 3 months, or is this safer for the male to take longer?
Yeah, a male, honestly, you can keep taking this. This is a really great product. I use this actually for people that are not trying to conceive, like that need more energy, that need more testosterone support. Like this is a great package. Like, and it hits like two huge areas of energy in men, one being mitochondrial function and the other one being testosterone function. And so I'd say continue using it. It's going to help your general health. And then of course you're going to start, incorporating some other of those healthy lifestyle things in there, like strength training. Strength training, this will definitely help your ability to produce muscle and recover. So I'd say keep using it if you can. It's a great
Amazing. Good. It's great. So for our listeners, both of these CanPrev products are actually new products that we have available at our Lansdowne location. And for the duration of this podcast, they will also be available at our other locations as well. So if you have any questions, please pop into one of our locations to learn more about these products. You can also visit our show notes, which will be on our Joanne's Place website, where we're going to break down these products a little bit more in depth to talk about the ingredients and also the directions on how to take them. So I wanted to take a minute here to thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. This has been such a great episode. And as I mentioned, it's a big conversation. Like we could talk for hours on it, but really this was such a positive episode to talk about what we can do and be proactive about improving fertility amongst our community. So I want to thank you so much for sharing all your information today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and you're very welcome. Absolutely.
If you're still here, thank you so much for tuning in today's episode. If you want to learn more about the topics that we covered in today's episode, as well as the products, you've got two options. You can head over to our Joanne's Place website to review the show notes. We'll leave that in the description below. Or you can pop into one of our Joanne's Place locations and talk to one of our amazing staff. Just a reminder, if you haven't already, go over to your preferred platform, follow our page, and then find us over on social media so you're notified as soon as a new episode is released. That's all for now, and we'll see you in the next episode.